We got some NASCAR fans in the house.
That's right.
We have polo fans in the house. I know, you got to give it up for polo. So I heard you guys were caught in some New York City traffic on your way here, and you guys both do sports that require speed. Are you guys calm in New York City traffic, or I can't imagine. I go crazy in New York City traffic, but how's the experience for you?
I mean, when you pull up the GPS, everything says it's right there, but it doesn't tell you the traffic. So yeah, it was what, 20 minutes?
It
2 miles?
definitely gives me anxiety for sure.
Do you ever just? I know you came with a driver. Do you ever just want to like hop in the front and be
This
like,
is
I can
one
get
of
us
the
there?
funnest towns in the world to drive in. Yes. I don't even know if there's any rules. I don't even know if there's any speed limits.
You can't really go above 10 miles an hour though.
No,
with
never.
the traffic. So.
But if you can catch like 2 green lights in a row, man, you're making up time.
So you know the skill. See, they said you were good on the technical side. That's all about New York City is timing the lights.
Very true.
You got to hit the yellow. I think you should do like one day, like be like an Uber driver in the city, and
That'd be
just
fun.
try to like
Yeah.
drive people crazy like through the city and see if you can like beat people's times.
See if we can get anybody to throw up.
So we have a lot to celebrate. First of all, both these guys were married in January. Give it up for our newlyweds. How many of you are familiar with the Times Vows section? You guys familiar with New York Times Vows? New York Times Vows. Was not familiar with it, and then when I got engaged to my wife, I just saw her reading it. Were you familiar with it before?
No, I wasn't familiar.
You were familiar with it,
but
I
yes?
was,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was my experience with my wife. I was like, New York Times Vows, what is this? And it's like the Daytona 500 of like wedding announcements or descriptions. But there's a beautiful New York Times Vows on these guys and you guys. So talk a little bit about how you met. I know that initially there was sort of a meeting, and then you guys met a few months later. What was the meeting?
Actually, we met once when I was younger at my family farm and shook hands and then kind of parted ways. He went to dinner, I went to dinner at a different place. And then 4 years later, my sister invited me down for my first NASCAR race, which was in Martinsville, which is the smallest and probably slowest track of NASCAR. But I thought, oh my God, they're going so fast and this track is huge. So it was a lot of fun. And Kurt and I just sat down at dinner on that Friday night and started talking like we had known each other our whole lives.
Is it true, by the way, that you had like a line about her being a shooting star?
Oh, actually, I was driving as fast as I could within reasonable speed limits to meet her for dinner. And as the sun was setting, honestly, there was a shooting star, and it was headed in the direction of where I was going to meet her.
Does that work still? Does it work?
But yeah, I gave her the cool, cheesy line of, is your dad a thief because he stole the stars out of the sky and put them in your eyes?
Oh, you were
Had
so
to
sweet.
start it off with cheesy one there.
Yeah,
But it worked out.
it did. It worked.
The line wasn't impressive, he was impressive, or the line worked too?
I think the connection was just impressive.
What is it about you guys that connected when you met? Like, what was it that you found in each other? By the way, this is not your typical NASCAR interview.
I know, this is
These are
getting
not
into
questions you get asked after winning a race.
some heavy detail.
Tell me about the emotional connection that you have with your wife.
Honestly, we connected so well because of our sport, in a sense. With her playing polo, with me in NASCAR, there was so much synergy, an easy way to communicate and talk about our respective sport and how long we've been committed to it, how long we've been doing it. And it was just like a perfect two-way street where it was easy to communicate, and we fell in love just because we were wanting to support the other one, but yet we grew up the same way in how we gave our life to our sport.
Was it hard with your schedule? Because I know both of you are competing. Your season is 10 months out of the year, almost every weekend. How have you guys found a way of building a relationship with all the traveling that you're both doing?
Well, luckily in polo, you can kind of pick and choose the tournaments you sign up for. And my biggest season is January until the end of April, beginning of May. So luckily, 2 months of that is during Kurt's off season. So that works out. And I just kind of pick tournaments around where he's racing that weekend. We make it work. He's very supportive. You flew straight from practice on Saturday to watch me play in the Veuve Clicquot Classic, so that was wonderful to have him there.
And I was talking about, I'm so fascinated by it. So polo is a very interesting sport to me. I'm a fencer. And so, by the way, polo, they always say they're the sport of kings in ability, but it's actually fencing. I just want to put that on your radar.
Okay, it's debatable.
Not to start anything up here.
It's debatable.
I'm starting with you, not him. Oh, where was I going with that? I don't know. I just wanted to talk trash to you. No, my wife and I were talking this morning, and I'm like, I've never heard of a female polo player. So do you play? Is there a women's league, or is it just? I know this weekend you were playing with Nacho Figueras, and is it just co-ed,
actually,
or are there separate leagues?
Polo is a co-ed sport. There aren't very many women that do play, but you can, if you decide to, you can sign up for women's tournaments, but that's not for me. I play with the boys, so.
Was there, I'm just imagining when you started and when you were playing in these events, was there a reaction to you being, a woman playing polo, or?
Well, I started when I was 11, so I think there was one, a reaction that I was a female, and two, that I was young. So, I think people are, one, they don't know much about polo. Two, they don't know that women play. So I think there was a reaction there.
And you just played this weekend. How did that go?
It went well. We didn't win, but that's okay. Veuve Clicquot team won. I played for the Liberty Comets. It was great,
So
though.
you guys lost? Were you supposed to lose to them? Or is it,
I mean...
That smile is all we need. That smile is all we need.
It was fun.
It was fun.
Yes.
What's it like watching your wife compete? Like, how are you as a husband? Are you nervous? Because polo is also a very, it's a very dangerous sport in regards to the speed and what you're doing out there.
It is a very dangerous sport. I have a roll cage and protection with my seat and my helmet, and for her, she's just on the saddle, and the contact between the horses and the other players. A lot of polo's rules, though, are set up for horse safety, as far as not cutting off the trajectory of the horse's line and things like that. And she plays smart, she plays hard, and I'm nervous. I'm very nervous, but I'm the best water boy I can be.
Definitely.
I love to give her the water.
You're top
between
notch.
He's a good supporter.
Yes, absolutely.
I think I saw that he got you coffee the other day when your hotel didn't deliver you some lattes. So
Oh,
it seems like
yes.
he's a supportive of you. And then, when you're out there watching her, I'm just imagining it. What is it? I'm just imagining it's tough. I don't know. What is it? Do you want to run out? By the way, have you gotten him on a horse?
Oh, yes, I have.
Have you played? Has he played?
He hasn't played in a game yet, but he definitely has the talent, too. The first time we went riding, he was on the horse for 2 hours, and if you can imagine, he was a little bit sore afterwards, but he couldn't stop hitting the ball. It gets addicting when you're out there, so...
I love watching her play, and then the team aspect of it as well. She has a great pro that plays with her a lot, Brandon Phillips, and he helps set up the plays. And then with, the trainer, Kayla, it's like a full crew that's there to help with the horses, getting all the saddles ready, getting all the equipment ready, truck and trailer. Sounds just like a NASCAR team when you really get down to it.
Is the crowd at the polo event similar to the NASCAR crowds, or
wish.
how is that experience different?
Yeah, I would say that's polar opposite.
Yeah.
But that's what makes our sport so great, is the fans in NASCAR, and then with polo, it's more of a social function and an outing and a gathering, but people dress to dress and impress at polo matches, and NASCAR fans are real proud to wear their colors and support their drivers, so it's a little different.
Were you familiar with it, the first time you went to see her, with the getting dressed up aspect, or was that something you had to educate him on?
Being a polo player myself, we don't really go all out and get dressed up, but it's great people watching, definitely at the big games. But jeans and a t-shirt, and he's great.
It works.
Yeah.
She helped change my wardrobe around a little bit, and then about the third game, I was feeling comfortable, so I brought her little Chihuahua along. And so I'm standing there on the side of the field. I've got the Chihuahua and hanging out, and they're like, "So, why are you here?" I'm like, "Well, I'm dating one of the players."
I was the only girl on the field that day.
But
so
definitely
it was questionable,
Yeah, it's very questionable.
who he
It
was
was cute.
dating.
Yeah, 'cause I think my shorts were pink with stripes, had the Chihuahua. I was looking good.
I gotta get
It
those
was a great
pictures out.
look.
So, first of all, you just won the Daytona 500, first time in your career. So we got to give it up for that. Super Bowl of racing. So I want to ask you a little about the race. I know you finished second 3 times. What was this experience like, finally bringing it home? And you had a bit of an interesting race as well.
It's an incredible win. It still feels like it resonates with different opportunities from sponsorship level, media. Coming to talk to you guys today, it's a proud moment. It took 17 tries, like you said, to win the Daytona 500, and this time around, I was telling Ashley 3 months before, I had good feelings and good vibes about it. And she's such a positive thinker, and the power of positive motivation comes from her. And switching back to Ford, getting back together with those guys, I just felt like that was going to be the perfect engine combination, and it was, and it turned out perfect at the end of the race to make the move on the last lap, past those guys, and bring home the trophy.
I read that your rear view mirror fell off with like 30 laps to go. Is that normal, or was that the first time that ever happened?
That was a sign.
Yeah, that was the first time that's ever happened. And in Victory Lane, I'm telling her about the mirror, and she goes, "Tell them exactly what you said. This is how powerful she is with some of her words."
Oh, I was just like, well, I mean, there's no need to look out the rear view. Everything good is out the windshield anyway, so you don't need that.
Nice.
And
That's
I
good.
was just in awe in Victory Lane with her. That was a huge moment. But yeah, the mirror is used to look back and make defensive blocks on the other drivers. And when it broke, I didn't have the chance to look back and make the moves to block other guys. And so I just went with gut instinct, and I was running on the outside lane. And when you're on the outside lane, nobody can get to your right. So that made it to where I'd had to force everybody to go to my left side, which that helped me block using the right side. So there's things that come up during the races. You never know what you're going to have to deal with, and the mirror breaking was the first time that's ever happened.
Wow.
That was not only a huge win for you, though, but it was, I think, the first win with you and back in a Ford car, so they were very excited about that. And then also the first win for Monster as the series sponsor and his sponsor, so that was
She's
huge.
just laying down the
She's got
sponsor
it. She's
drops
good.
right here,
Publicist,
huh?
wife,
That is
got
great.
everything.
I mean,
Thank
yeah.
you.
You're doing a good job for him.
Thank you.
The companies will be happy. And then, so that last lap, when you made that last pass, like, how do you know, like, okay, there's one car in front of me. Do you know by your positioning I'm in a good place to pass this car? Like, at what point do you feel like you have a chance, or is it really up until it happens?
You know, it was 30 laps to go. I tried to take the lead on the outside, and the race had a red flag because of a bad wreck. And so the race was really pushing back towards nightfall. And when I tried to take the lead with 30 laps to go, down the back straightaway, I felt like this huge gust of wind that was a headwind down the back straightaway. And what was actually happening was there was a front moving in off the ocean in Daytona. And I said, wow, that headwind is so strong down the back, that means it's going to be a tailwind down the front straightaway. So I actually drug the brake a little bit, coming to the last lap to kind of lean back a little bit and kind of slingshot forward down the front straightaway and made the pass in turn 2. That way I had that extra 2 or 3 miles per hour on that guy that was leading, and I was able to hold that momentum all the way back around to win the race. So with 30 to go, that's when I made my game plan. I said, last lap, turn 2, we're going to make it happen. You got to love it when a plan comes together.
Absolutely. And what is it like for you watching him race? Because I'm just imagining also, I was asking him, but I mean, he's in a pretty dangerous sport. Like, are you worried every race, or how do you?
I think
do you
the
handle
most
it?
nerve-wracking races would have to be Daytona and Talladega, which they do twice a year. But he does have a lot of safety in his car. I think the most nerve-wracking for me, though, is when he's close to winning. And if there's 10 laps left, I can't watch the TV. I'm, like, pacing up and down. I can't watch. I told him, like, thank God you only led half a lap at Daytona, because I would have been, like, on the floor freaking out. So
I think it's way harder to watch than to play.
Oh, yeah.
When you're doing it, you've got like something to do. When
Yeah.
you're watching, it's
all you can think about.
yeah. And there's like nothing to do. Mm-hmm. There's like nothing to do. I do want to ask you about Tony Stewart, because you guys had your rivalry. He's obviously a part owner of the team, and he never won Daytona 500. Did you rib him at all for the fact that he never won and you won it? I would have, but
I treaded lightly on it. He's a great car owner to race for. He was an even tougher competitor out on the track. And, yeah, we wrecked with each other in 2007. That was one of my best Daytona cars, and him and I wrecked in the lead that year. And that really started the rivalry between us. And then, age helped us mature a little bit, and we weren't as feisty with each other in the latter part of his career. And now it's great to race for him. And I actually took my ring off that I got from Daytona Victory Lane and gave it to Tony Stewart in Victory Lane.
wow.
He's a car owner, deserving of it, and I wanted to give him my ring.
Let's give it up. That's excellent.
Because I got the better ring the month before.
Yeah,
That's the other part of the story. You got the winning ring. Yeah, in comparison to that. So I'm always fascinated by sort of like technique, meaning at a high level, it really comes down to like the small details. So kind of question for both of you. What are some of the small details of excellence in your respective sports that maybe would surprise people or people wouldn't think about?
In NASCAR, we have the ability to tape the cars in the qualifying runs, and we can overlay the other drivers' qualifying runs onto the same screen. And so it's like a ghost car, and it's used a lot by skiers. When they're going skiing down the mountain, you can overlay the other guy's path on top of where you are, and you can see where you're losing or gaining time. And now we're talking thousandths of a second as far as qualifying on the pole, or if you miss it just by a little bit, you can end up at mid-pack really easily. And so this video system is something that I put a lot of time and effort into to try to find those little thousandths of a second. And so that's taking it to that level. It's you got to be committed to it, and you got to learn more and more about how to find an advantage in our sport. And I think that's a great tool that helps me.
Yeah, I think similar to NASCAR, where every little thing kind of matters and makes a car faster, I think it's the same way when we prepare our horses to play. It's always great to rewatch the games or the practices. But the ponies, I mean, there's a lot of training that goes into them before they get singled every day, which is exercise, and they stop and turn and run, and you stop on a dime and turn, and you have to warm them up that way before each game. That way they're ready and prepared to play. So it's even just down to the second, or whether it's riding around the field and making sure they're used to the crowd and, hitting the ball a couple times. It's definitely all those little pieces that make your horse and your performance that much better.
And in the course of a game, you have a few horses, right?
Yes.
You have to have like a...
6 horses total in a game. So there's 6 chuckers in each game in regulation polo. And each chucker is 7 minutes, and we switch a horse every 7 minutes.
Do you have like a favorite horse amongst the 6?
It's tough to choose. I kind of assign my horses depending on their personality for each chucker. So my first chucker horse is probably my most relaxed, a really dependable pony. And then my 6th chucker horse, her name is Twist.
Her name is Twist?
Mm-hmm. And then my 6th chucker horse, she is a complete rock star. I mean, she does everything. She's super quick. She's amazing. Her name's Cayenne.
We won't tell the other horses that.
Hey, I love them all. They're all great for their chuckers.
I don't think people always realize like the teams that are involved in sports. And I had the chance actually to visit Casey Kane's. Like, I don't know if you guys call it a campus, but I was shocked by like the number of cars that you guys have. It was like a whole team working on like the math of the cars and the wind and testing it. And it is like a huge operation to have a NASCAR. Like, how many people are actually on the team that supports you?
Yeah, there's 300 people that are part of our Stewart-Haas race team, and 30 people will come to the track each weekend just for my car. But then back at the race shop where they're building the engines, the chassis, they build the bodies from scratch. Literally, it's a piece of sheet metal laying on a rack, and then they shape it to the conformed templates for how our car is built. And 300 people. We have 12 different cars that are in my stable. So she's got her 6 horses.
Do you name the cars?
We used to, but now...
No. What are your horses' name again?
Twist is the first chucker. Cayenne, 6th chucker.
Yeah, we used to name our cars when we would keep them longer, but now we only race a car like 3 times and we scrap it.
Wow.
Because technology is advancing so quickly, and we want everything as lightweight as possible, that we build the cars to where there's stress fractures and cracks that develop, and by the 3rd race, you got to get rid of it.
Yeah, really. It was just really eye-opening for me to see how much science goes into it, how much math goes into it. I have a couple quick questions before we get to the crowd, so I'm going to go for quick answers on these.
Okay.
Quick answer.
One is I have a student, I coach fencing as well. One of my students, Rob, is here. He races Indy cars. What are you in, Rob? It's not the Indy Light, the... The USF 2000. So I said, Rob, you got to give me like a really smart question to ask Kurt, so I seem like a super expert. So if this isn't a good question, then that's the one to blame back there. He said you're known for doing double duty.
There was a race. It's called in NASCAR and IndyCar. There's one race day where there's the Indy 500 and then the Coca-Cola 600 in the same day. And when you try to attempt to race both races, it's called double. And so in 2014, I raced in the Indy 500, finished 6th, and then flew down to Charlotte and raced that 600-mile race that night, and made it 900 miles into the 1,100-mile journey, but the engine ended up expiring, so I didn't finish the NASCAR race. But in the world of motorsport, it's called the double, running both races on the same day.
And you're the last person to attempt that?
Yes, there's I think there's
facts.
been 5 attempts at it.
5 attempts at, wow.
And,
What do you like at the end of that? I mean, are
It's
you...
like a bowl of Jello.
Yeah.
It's like, just feel like you give it all that you can, and hydration's the biggest thing that that you have to have. You know, you get dehydrated and it's game over.
Can I tell you a really bad joke that I wasn't going to say, but it's so bad that I feel like it
Go
warrants
for it.
me sharing? And
Ricky Bobby?
my wife specifically told me not to share this joke, so I should probably not do it.
Do it. Come on.
All right. So I was just saying, between the two of you, you probably are the couple with the most amount of horsepower.
Yes, you are so clever.
Have you heard that before?
Smooth.
Yes, no?
Never heard that before.
Never,
Are you lying to me?
Never heard that.
No.
It's an original?
Yeah.
Okay. There's probably a reason you've never heard that before. Let's go to some audience questions right here in the front.
So speaking of horsepower, I'd love to hear more about your horses and how you sort of have to form a relationship with them, because it's interesting you mentioned about their personalities, and I wonder if there's any similarities with getting to know a new car for you.
Well, at least I get to ride my horses more often. I mean, he said you race the car 3 times and kick it to the curb. With the horses, I mean, I've had some of mine for 10 years, like
Yeah,
Cayenne.
we don't kick Twixie to the curb.
It's Twist, but
We
that's
don't kick
cute.
Twist to the curb. No, continue, sorry.
Twixie will be my next horse.
Twixie will be your next one, and his next car that he
Yes.
names.
So I definitely bond with them. I know each of their strong points and weaknesses, and they're a little bit like dogs on the field. They kind of love to play the game. They love to follow the ball. So I definitely have a connection with each one of them. It's special.
Yeah, and for me, when I won the championship years ago in NASCAR, we would race a car all season long, and sometimes you bring it into the next season too. And we had chassis number 46, which we just nicknamed it Winner, because every time we would bring it out, it would have a shot at winning. And that car, when we ran it in the playoffs that year, we ran it 5 out of the 10 races. Because a car, you can't really race a car one weekend and expect to have it for the next weekend because you might wreck. Or if you win, NASCAR usually takes your car to their R&D center to research it and to impound it, and they won't really give it back right away. So back then, though, you could nickname a car, and it had its own personality as well. But now the cars are assembly line built, and they don't really have much personality or difference between them.
Is that part impounding just to make sure you didn't do anything?
Exactly, a little trickery.
Do people still try to pull things off?
All the time.
All the time?
Yeah, every
What's
week.
like a interesting thing someone tried to pull off?
The most recent one was guys were using these little itty-bitty drill bits in the tires to bleed air out of the tire while it was running. So that was a pretty big no-no.
Fascinating.
Yeah. But yeah, there's always creative ways to find advantages.
A famous Olympic cheating story is this Russian fencer had a button in their weapon. And so in our sport, a light goes on when you score, and the Russian, it was at the Olympics, would just push the button, and his scoring light would go on.
Oh, wow.
So yeah,
boom.
we have technical cheating as well. So we got another question? There we go.
With the stage racing being new this year, what's the good advantage and the disadvantage about it for this year?
The playoff format? The way that it's set up now is we have 10 races that are in our playoffs, and there's 3 sections to work your way towards the finals. And so the first 3 races, it's kind of like a best of 3 type series. That's the easiest way to look at it. And since it's the first round, if you just go out there and focus on yourself and the team, and if you finish 12th on average, you'll advance to the next round. But then now you're with the next group of guys that are the toughest group. And then the last 2 years, I made it all the way to the cutoff race in Phoenix and missed out on the championship round by 5 positions last year and 6 positions the year before that. And so it's so cutthroat. I mean, every position counts once you get to that final round to make it to the championship. Whereas our sport used to be 36 straight weekends of gathering points all year long. But now, now you have to work your way through the system to get a chance to race at the championship round in Homestead. But I think it works out great because there's 4 guys, girls, Dana can get in there too, that have a chance at winning the championship on the final race. And all of them are even in points. So it's whoever finishes the highest gets the trophy. And so it's a really easy way to digest the sport if you come as a first-timer.
I think we got one more question.
Hey, thank you for being here. Which Hall of Famer for each of your sports would you have loved to have competed against?
Oh, wow, that's very cool. You want to start first?
I would say, I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame yet, but Adolfo Cambiaso, he's the best polo player in the world. I would love to have the chance to compete against him one day.
You know, for me, I grew up watching the races on TV, and out west, we didn't have the hamburger chain called Hardee's. We had Carl's Jr. out there. And so when I was watching on TV, there was a guy, Cale Yarborough, who drove the Hardee's car. And that driver, that sponsor, that car, I just always loved watching him race and would have loved the chance to have raced against him.
Awesome. Well, Kurt and Ashley, I want to, first of all, congratulate you guys on your wedding again, your newlyweds.
Thank you.
What's next for you guys? You're off to another race in the Poconos?
Pocono, yep.
And when's your next tournament?
It'll be in July, actually,
July.
but I'm
A
off
little
to
break.
Florida to do a campaign for the USPA.
Awesome,
So.
awesome. Well, we wish both of you the best of luck. We'll be rooting for both of you. And
Thank you.
thank you guys for joining us on
Thank you so
AOL
much.
Build.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Kurt and Ashley Busch.